Yo, what's going on, guys? We are back in studio. We got a lot to talk about, guys. We got Emmy hitting 40 goals. We got Matthew Bentley being super mad, scoring a late equalizer. We got a potential competition battle out of the right wing spot. We know who it shouldn't be. We also have a whole bunch of league stuff to talk about. And on top of that, Richmond still sits second in the table. I'm Yogi, by the way. Joining me on the show, as always, it's Matt, it's Shanir. How are you guys doing? How was your weekend?
Not bad. Went to the Fluvanna County Fair yesterday with the family.
Okay.
Uh, so it was a nice day. Then ended the day frustrated as heck, and then had that angry, excited moment when Matt Bentley scored that late equalizer. Um, so all in all, an up and down day. Gave me a little bit of everything.
Okay. How are you, Matt? How was your weekend, sir?
Doing good. Doing good. I guess we could say that the bad stuff happened on Saturday. Good stuff happened on Sunday, our time at least, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
This is also true.
I feel like probably it was all roughly after midnight when the good part of the game finally started.
Yeah. Anything past 12 was good. Anything past 12. Um, Real quick, I want to ask you guys a question because you brought it up. You went to the Fluvanna County Fair. What is your favorite thing to get at the fair? For me, it's a turkey wing. Like, if I go to a fair, I got to get a turkey wing. What about y'all?
Uh, yeah, but they didn't have any.
What? What kind of fair is this?
It's
Hey,
Fluvanna.
I mean, it's Fluvanna. Exactly, it's Fluvanna. It's not. This ain't the state fair. If it was the state fair, man, and they didn't
There's not
have
a
turkeys,
whole farm. I mean, it's the country. There's not a farm of turkeys that we can slaughter to make some turkey wings.
most turkeys I've seen out here were wild turkeys. So I don't know.
Whatever. That's trash. All right. Well, let's
Anyway,
go ahead. Let's get
hold
started.
on.
What was yours?
Do I not get
Oh,
the
yours.
answer?
Oh, yeah. I didn't know your answer. What is yours, sir?
Favorite thing to get at any kind of county fair, state fair is out.
What?
Not my people there. Not my scene.
I mean, I get it. Like the prices, the parking, the
Not
weird. There's a lot of people around.
not my world. Yeah. Worst part about it, getting in. Best part, getting out.
I mean,
Well,
yeah, there's always the fried dough. Well, as they say down here down south, the funnel cake.
yeah. A good funnel cake goes a long way. You can't
Oh
beat a
yeah,
good funnel cake, Matt.
you can't.
You can't beat a good funnel cake.
I mean, funnel cakes. That's King's Dominion territory there.
Yeah, but okay.
That's
All right,
true.
let's be
King's
real.
Dominion got some banging funnel cake.
They
Oh, they've got
do,
some pretty good
but then
funnel cake.
that's yeah. But State Farm has some good ones. I haven't had a King's Dominion funnel cake in a while. Also, I haven't paid to go to King's Dominion in a long time because I've rode every roller coaster there, and no, it's yeah, it's nothing to do there anymore. But and also other terms of nothing else to do, we don't have to go out to the West Coast anymore this year. Yay!
Yeah, we're all done with
Praise
that.
be.
Praise me, praise me. We got Richmond to Central Valley Fuego to. It really felt like this was a game of two halves. Um, First of all, I don't know what it is about Victor Flock playing against Richmond, but he only seems to score bangers against us. Very, very confusing.
And
Granted, the goal was nice, but still,
what's with the banger? What's with the banger against your old club?
I don't know. I
Because
don't know.
he if it if it wasn't for the fact that if it was against us, I would have been going crazy over that goal, even if it wasn't the kickers who scored it. If it wasn't against the kickers, I would have been going crazy because that was a strike and a half.
It was, and this is the crazy thing about it is too about Victor. Like in Richmond, he never showed this ability to be this deadly from like set pieces, free kicks,
Nope.
goes out to California. Where this talent been at, son? Where this been at? But yeah, I digress. Let's start off with this starting lineup. Darren made a couple of changes. He brought in Dakota into that midfield, pushed Ethan Bryant up to right wing. Stephen Payne came back as the right back spot. And I'm not gonna lie, guys, it seemed like a team that hasn't the starting 11 out there. Granted that all these guys have played together, but it seemed like this starting 11 itself started very slow. Am I fair in that assumption?
Yeah, but I don't think the slow starts have been necessarily been abnormal, especially lately.
No. It hasn't been. But it just seemed like this starting 11 itself was fairly so. And maybe that's the way how Darren described it. I mean, wanted it to be with the two pivots of Dakota and Zaka in there. But it just seemed very slow against Central Valley Fuego. Like, it kind of seemed like a repeat of that first game we went out there where we couldn't get close to the ball. We couldn't close down any space. And they were kind of more or less passing it around us.
Well, I mean, on the plus side, we stayed 11v11 the whole time this time around.
There you go.
That was a bit of the issue last time around of why we got passed around for most of the game because they were up a man most of the game. But you look at this game where I think the kickers were credited with one first half shot. I think Greenville last week was maybe like one or two first half shots, and they weren't anything real either. There's been a bit of a trend of slow starts recently, and that's not just necessarily a function of ceding possession, because again we've talked about that plenty of times about how that is a little bit of the design of the system is to be fine giving away possession, but then being able to hit quickly on that. But it's that hitting quickly part that isn't coming about the last couple of games, especially early on. I also feel like we've seen the team be very committed to trying to play out of the back, and teams are starting to high press a lot, and they haven't found those opportunities to really spring, let's be real, Bolaños into space as a result.
Yeah. I mean, you're totally right in everything you're saying. Shaneer, how did you see the game, the first couple of minutes starting out?
A lot like Matt. It seems that it seems to be the trend of the game of soccer nowadays, like all over the world, that the high press is king. And like you said, and like you said also, because of the midfield three choices, I feel there was a little bit of a disconnection between Vinyals and the other two center mids because of the fact that both Dakota and Saka are both more defensive, less mobile, and then Vinyals is more of an attacking midfielder and more dynamic. It created a gap between the two, and I think that gap is where our issue was and why we weren't able to get situations where we had a ball fed to Bolaños in behind or something like that we are used to seeing.
Yeah.
So,
well, I think the other piece of that is, I think we've talked a lot about how we really enjoy Ethan Bryant. I don't enjoy him as a winger. And
me neither. Yeah.
His skills I don't think are best suited out there, and really that kind of limited where those outlet balls were going to, because he's not going to be a guy who can chase it down like any of our other winger options would be tasked with doing. He's shifted a little further back, but basically cut the field in half on those long ball releases that the defenders were not infrequently moving towards eventually once they realized they weren't going to be able to pass all the way out of the press.
Yeah. I just remember this. This lineup very much seems like a lot of we would have done the first 3 or 4 games out of the season, where Ethan Bryant wasn't in the lineup, but the midfield itself was very much set up to defend deep, kind of protect the center backs, and allow the front four to kind of creep. But you're right, there. Like, it's kind of like that weird gap in there. And I will say this: it seems as if like Darren set his team up to be better at ball possession and holding on to the ball. But it's weird. Like, how can I put this? It's weird to do that when you don't have another release valve out on that right wing, and that right wing is Ethan Bryan, who we know is the ball controller. Like, it's weird how this team was kind of set up in the first couple of minutes.
Yeah, I don't know. For me, I think one of the main things that was a challenge for Darren was I don't know if he feels that Dakota deserved to start, but I don't think there was any place for him in this lineup because I feel that you put Bryant in that position and you put Bentley out wide to start the game, then you have a more fluid starting 11 where you're flowing basically from back to front. But then again, Dakota, who has been playing very well, is unable to start. But I think that's one of those situations where you just got to cut your losses and take that into consideration. So at the end of the day, you either replace one of the center backs with Dakota, or Dakota doesn't start. But having both Dakota and Zaka in the midfield really slowed us down, really bogged down the game.
I would reframe it a different way. I don't think it's that does Dakota deserve. I think it's more Darren thinking Dakota doesn't deserve to sit. He's been arguably our best player over the last month or so. And I mean, I think the better question is why
you say Dakota's been our best defensive
player
this last month. Huh?
Yeah, why slide Ani back in? And move Dakota around.
I think that's fair. I think that's all fair. It's weird to say because when you look at Dakota, he's been our best defender over the month, but he's also been generally like you pointed out to, he's been able to move into that midfield spot. So I guess they're just based on the fact of all right, if we can clog up the midfield and not allow them to do what they did us game one, which was be very expensive and very open, I got a chance. But
then when you clog it up, you play defensive, you're isolating your strikers and you're inviting the pressure.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. You need another release valve out there.
Exactly.
Right.
And not only do you need another release, but you need another player who can provide that release, and that was Bryant. So Bryant was actually the crux of two problems. There wasn't another winger out there, and he wasn't in the midfield to provide those balls. So
I don't think Darren minds the guys being isolated up front. I think that's actually a preference at this point. But I think all the guys that were playing in the midfield are capable of being able to spring them out there. I don't think that was necessarily the issue that they're not capable of getting it out. I just think that for whatever reason, the press ended up bothering them more than, I don't know if it's what they expected, or more realistically, even heard the commentary make reference to this. Darren likes to play more conservative on the road. So he.
I want to bring up that point right there that you mentioned, Matt, about him playing more conservative road. That's something we've seen out of Darren Sawatsky teams on the road. At home, his team is aggressive. They're going for the first 15 minutes. On the road, it seems as if the team wants to be more conservative, doesn't want to lose the game instead of going to go win it. Why is their mindset kind of like that?
I don't know. And what confuses me even more is that when you look at the bench, that's a very attacking bench. Candela, Bentley, Decker, and
so
Gordon.
how you say that's a very attacking bench and start off with Candela?
Right? I was thinking the same
thing. because actually Candela is actually our most attacking defensive midfielder. When you put him on the field, yes, he does a defensive midfield job, but he gets involved with the attack a lot for a defensive midfielder.
No. I'm not arguing that point. I'm just saying it was just funny how you said he has a very attacking bench. That was the first one you just named.
Well, because I was just going down the list and leaving out the actual defenders. But at the end of the day, you look at that situation and you're like, okay, so you're bringing the attacking players you need in order to bring the game to the other team. but you're starting with a team that's going to invite pressure against a team that's at home and already feeling themselves and feeling like they can come at you because they're in their own backyard. So I don't know. I just it to me, I don't know if it works very well.
I mean, I get the idea. The idea is, certainly, sit back, observe the pressure, see if you can steal one along the way, but really, do no harm, and then be able to roll out, a bunch of guns in the last 20 minutes or so and see if you can steal it. Which, spoiler, stole in the last 20 minutes, just not the first part didn't work.
Yeah, first part didn't work. But I mean, that's kind of seasons the game, but we've seen it before where Darren. Matter of fact, go back and look at last week. Like his gameplay more or less effectively worked up until 89-30, where we let it go in. It just happened in this time. It didn't happen because Victor Flock, who we talked about before, decided to become superhuman again and score another banger. The free kick itself, I don't. Once again, there's no defending that goal. It's really literally like the Richmond players just all rush at the ball. Like it's kind of like a free fall. Like just put a body in front of it, and Victor Frank just comes out and smacks it out of nowhere. Just goes to the corner where Kira can't reach it. That's all
Victor just hit it, and the ball went the one place where it wasn't gonna get blocked. Like he hit it exactly the only place where it wasn't going to get blocked. You can't really fault any of the kickers. They did exactly what they were supposed to do. They set up for the wall. They blocked the wall, blocked the initial free kick. Everyone runs out to try and block, to try and win that ball. Falk gets there first and smashes it. I mean, there's nothing really you can do about it.
I mean, you cannot foul the guy in the exact same spot they gave away the free kick last time around where they scored. That'd be cool if they stopped doing that.
That's true. That is
also
true. That is true.
Yeah, I think really for me, like out of the first time, I think the only thing that really sticks with me is the lack of shots on goal, and but that also might just come from like you were saying before, like just the conservative nature of being on the road, and us as fans, you're down to go. We're like, all right, after game plan, like. Go, but you got to stick to your gameplay when you're out there.
Yeah, it's not so much the number of shots themselves. I would look at it as more of think through the whole first half. How many actual moments were there where you thought, "Ooh, okay, maybe something might happen here"? I can think of one.
Yeah,
and that was when Bolaños early on was able to skin Smith and kind of dance along the end line, but then I think it's Cross got blocked out.
Yeah. I would agree with saying. I think that's the same. Kind of moving on to the second half. Second goal happened. This one irritated me probably the most, just because of the fact of one, Jalen's play in this kind of just holding up. I can't remember the striker for Fuego, but also Stu Ritchie rolling this of how he just stood flat-footed in that Shanera, your favorite saying of just don't stand there, attack the space. Yeah, and that's what Stu Ritchie failed to do in this play, and it kind of led to go the way how Baxi, who more or less I'm surprised didn't get a red card in this game because he always seems to get a red card when he plays against Richmond. For one, help me understand, what is Jalen trying to do in this play? Because the way I saw it was him just losing a 50-50 battle and getting out battle.
So I didn't see it that way. I saw it as I think it was Chaney maybe that was on the ball. So it's off a long throw, and the ball comes into, again, I think it was Chaney kind of along the edge of the 6, roughly, right? And basically he has, it's almost like basketball. He's posting up at that point, and Jalen's playing good solid body defense right there. So Jalen's role at that point is to make sure that he can't turn and get an easy opportunity right away. And he needs that help defender to be able to come in, because you don't want him trying to hook around, clear the ball himself, because that's begging for a penalty potentially at that point. He looking to be able to maintain position and essentially do no harm right there, because Chaney facing the sideline, from right there, back fully to goal. He's not going to hurt you himself. He has to find something, to be able to do with the ball, and you as a defender, you have to make sure that you're not giving him the easy outlet.
Okay, that makes a little bit more sense. But then I still come to the point where I'm still very confused and mad at Stu. Stu's just standing there on the back post, just standing there flat-footed, just ball watching.
Yeah, I mean, people weren't tracking runners.
Yeah,
right.
And that's something I don't understand.
Yeah, and there were plenty of Richmond players in the box because it was a long throw to begin with. So there's probably, if I had to guess, 10 guys in the box defending that, most likely, if I went back and really counted everything. So again, you got Jalen, kind of holding the fort essentially. Okay, obviously Kira's not going to be tracking a guy because he has to be in the goal, right there. But leaves a lot of other guys to either be able to help or to be able to fill space, mark runners, and the space wasn't filled right there, and the runner wasn't tracked right there, and made for not the toughest finish of all time.
Right, and I would like to believe that if Stu gets to the space, maybe he doesn't get to the ball, but if he gets to the space, I have to believe Maxey's shot goes over the crossbar just because of how hard he shot it. Like any kind of another person coming into your view, or he maybe takes like a tenth of a second to rethink it. I gotta imagine that shot goes over the crossbar, but it doesn't. Bangs off the crossbar. Now we're down 2-0, and at this point, I start to think, maybe every game should really be played at City Stadium, and we should only do playoff qualification based on home record. I'm fine with
that. I mean, that seems fair, right?
Yeah, seems fair. Road games do not matter. They're all made up. They're just training expeditions at this point. But a lot of stuff changes. He makes changes. Who is it? Gordon comes on. Bentley comes on. Who else am I forgetting?
Bentley was already on. I think.
So basically, the four subs are Gordon, Bentley, Decker, and Candela.
Okay. Which, when you see those four subs, you're thinking, okay, this is Richmond now getting on the front foot. Like, this is the attacking lineup. And I wonder, hindsight is always 2020, and maybe it's a totally different game. But I would like to imagine that if Darren went out with a starting lineup of, Bolaños, Terzaghi, Bentley, the midfield, the way how we mentioned it, this game plays out a little bit differently. Am I wrong? Am I crazy in saying that?
Maybe. So I just went back and looked it up. So Bentley and Candela came in before the second goal happened. So Bentley was in for Bryant. Candela came in for Ani and dropped Dakota back into the back line at that point.
Okay. Which it probably should have been the starting back line anyway, sadly. I mean, I can understand, and going back to that, I can understand Darren's situation of all three of them have been playing well. Yes, some of them came back from injury and then whatever, and then we're gonna. But all three of them have been playing well at center back, so it's a tough decision to make. But I mean, just saying, let me get all of them on the field at the same time, unless you're playing a back three. This is the situation we're dealing with.
I will say this, and maybe I'm crazy for thinking this, but I'm probably crazy. I wouldn't mind seeing this lineup against Greenville.
The starting lineup?
Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing this against Greenville because more or less against Greenville, you're pretty much just you're doing a Greenville to Greenville. You're telling Greenville, hey, we're gonna bunker in, give you possession, and see how you do.
Yeah.
Versus
they don't like possession.
Yeah. I mean, we can talk about that later, but I'm just not thinking about that.
I mean, I'm assuming you mean the midfield and not the wing situation.
The midfield. Yeah. Midfield. But yeah, back to the game. 2-0 down. Darren makes changes. Less than 2 minutes after the goal, we get a penalty.
Minute.
Yeah, let it get a minute. But I think we talked about it last week. This is our first penalty kick this year, Haven't had a penalty all year. Thanks a lot, USL League One refs.
In fairness, we don't really dribble around in the box ever, so
That's true.
If he gets fouled enough in the box, then we should get more. We should have more. Let me ask you guys a question. I'm gonna see if you guys notice or not. Who is the only other team up until this game that has not scored a penalty kick?
Fuego, they're like 0 for 3 or something.
0 for 2.
Okay.
0 for 2. Yep, it was Fuego. So us and Fuego are the only two teams not to have a penalty kick. We get ours. Now the foul itself, it really when I first saw it on the replay, I thought old boy like really just punched Terzaghi in the back of the head, but he didn't. I thought he did. But yeah, Terzaghi takes the penalty. 40th goal. Is it 40th or 41? Because I'm seeing two different things.
40th league goal. He scored that one in the Open Cup.
Bet. Okay. So 41 overall, 40th in the league. I think it's fair to say that Terzaghi is going to have 50 very soon.
Oh yeah. He's. This is my thing. I don't know if he's gonna hit 50 this season with the options that we have up front. With the fact that the goals are kind of being shared a little more this season than last season. So if he stays with the Kickers next year, he's hitting 50 before May.
That seems a lot more realistic.
Yeah. What number do you think he ends on this year?
8 games left.
Give or take 3 to 2 playoff games.
The playoff games wouldn't count towards the league number.
Oh, okay.
I'd say 46, 47, something like that.
I was going to say 44, 45.
Ain't a lot of y'all. I think 47.
I mean, I'd be happier if you all are right than if I'm right.
I can see 47.
You got him heading for 7 goals in the last 8. I like it.
I would love 7 goals in the last 8. Goodness.
This is banking on a hat trick.
Hold on.
This is banking on a hat trick.
What we got to see the game. Hold on. Who are we playing?
You got 2 Omaha, you got a Greenville, you got a Chattanooga, a Madison away.
2 Tormentas.
Fuego again. Somebody else. Tormenta twice, I think.
Yeah, Tormenta twice.
Tormenta might be your best bet for a hat trick.
I think so.
Hey, look, it's September 24th. No, September 7th, Tormenta at home. Hey.
I'm banking on a hat trick.
You're banking on a hat trick.
Be great if it happens. But back to the game again. I keep getting us off track. This is part of the show by now. People know this. So we're 2-1 at this point. From this point on, do you guys feel like the tempo and the mood of this game favored more Richmond, or was it still kind of more so split down the middle 50-50? Because to me, it felt like the latter half of this game, when it was 2-1, it seemed like Richmond was in control, or more or less.
Wait, depends how you define control.
It seemed more live.
Yeah, it looked more like scoring. Yeah. For me, it felt like they looked more like scoring. However, I kind of was like, do I need to look at this over again when I look at Terzaghi's reaction to Bentley's goal? I don't know if you guys caught it, but Bentley scores the goal, and rather than celebrating, he runs into the goal to grab the ball to bring it back to halfway, and Terzaghi stops him. He gets the ball, and he's running back to halfway, and before he even crosses the 6, Terzaghi's next to him, basically telling him, slow down. Like, I think a lot of them felt that they were just trying to see out the game. The fact that they got the goal, yay, we got the goal, now we're tied, let's see out the game. Bentley, I think, was in a mindset of, let's see if maybe we can get a win, we can steal a winner. It was really weird.
Let's back up and talk about the goal first before we talk about that moment. The goal itself is really nice.
Yes.
Because our Irish Jamaican, O'Gordon, once again, another cross. I think this is his most assist in, I think, the last 2-3 years. But came back from injury, provided a beautiful assist. I don't understand how Fuego lost Bentley in the box because Bentley's fairly tall.
Oh, it's because they're not very good.
No, well, that's true. Okay. No, okay. But yeah, he gets to the end of it. Toe pokes it over the line. It's 2-2 at that point. And you're right, Shadir. I did see that moment. I do wonder if it was kind of just like, hey, we got the draw. Let's get out of here. Kind of thief of the night moment.
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe in that
It was
essence.
it was strange. It was strange to me because I felt that if anyone was gonna score in the, which was unlikely, was gonna score in the last 2 minutes, it would have been Richmond. First off, having scored again, we had the momentum,
Mhm.
having scored twice in a row,
Yeah.
and they looked like the most likely to score even before Bentley scored that goal. So I don't know if maybe it was instructions from Darren. But with regard to the actual goal, I am with you, Elliot. I have no idea who was supposed to be marking Bentley and who lost him, but he was by himself.
Was.
He could have waved the 6 foot stick around him and not hit anybody.
I appreciate Fuego's lack of defensive effort on that play.
Oh, absolutely.
The way how all the players just looked around and was just like, bro.
It looked like they didn't even know who was supposed to mark him, so I don't even think he was marked in the first place
No, it didn't look
because
like
no one got the finger pointed at them. Because normally you get a situation where two or three players are like, "That was your man to mark," like to one guy. Nobody was pointing at anybody. They were all just looking around like, "Wait, who was supposed to mark? How did he get in there? Who was supposed to mark him?" It was very, very strange, especially unless it's a situation of tired legs, tired mind. Um, that was very strange that Central Valley work left him completely unmarked in the box.
well, guys, I think the best thing about this game is that one, we got a point. Two, we stay in second place. Three, we kind of stop a skid that could have became a skid. And Bentley and Sasaki got on the score sheet. I think that's probably the best to take away from this match.
No one visibly got hurt.
That also is the
Yeah,
biggest positive.
that too.
Now we just hope that they can find a flight and not get stuck in Fuego like they did last time. Yeah, that was a fun story there. Told us. Um. So we put a bow on that one. Now we look ahead. We got Union Omaha coming up. Union Omaha right now is probably the hottest team in USL League One. 11 games unbeaten. I think they tied their record from last year. They still got 2 games in hand on us.
And they are 1 point behind.
Yep. If they come to Richmond and beat us, they jump to second. And I'm not gonna lie, I kind of see it hard for us to kind of climb back into that top two, given how we played against Greenville, given how Omaha's playing. I think Saturday is. Is it too early to say it's make or break for giving Richmond's top two chances?
I would say so because you got to take into consideration that even with that game, Union Omaha still have 2 games in hand. So if they go up above us with still 2 games in hand, that'll be a tough act to follow, especially with the form that they've been in. Um, it, it, I don't think we can afford to lose that game.
What you
Um,
say about?
I mean, it's too early to say it's make or break for it, because we'll still have 7 games left after that. We play Omaha again later on. We play Greenville again later on. So that's another variable in the make it the top two. Okay, even if Omaha passes us, there's nothing saying that we can't go back and get Greenville instead.
Yeah, like
So
yeah,
uh,
it's a crazy possibility.
I mean, it would make life worlds easier if we beat Omaha, on Saturday. I mean, obvious statements are obvious, but no, it's not going to be the end of the run because as how Omaha is right now, we know that teams in this league go through hot spells and then they hit a dry patch. Greenville started off something like 1 point out of 3 games or something this year, and last year they went through a cold patch mid-season. Everybody does it at some point.
Yeah. Very much
So
true. I love that being optimistic tonight.
Look, here's to us starting a cold patch on Saturday.
That sounded more like us, like kickers having a cold patch Saturday pass.
So yeah, I'm just gonna give you guys your starting lineup for yesterday if I can find it, and I actually can't find it, so never mind. How does Darren line this team up against Union? Given we know how they play, we know they like to play the counter attack. It's more or less going to be a 4-4-2. They're a strong defensive team. Nuhu is probably got one hand on that Golden Glove. How does Darren kind of combat this and line up against them?
I mean, I think the only question is who's starting on the wing.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised, I wouldn't be surprised if he goes for revenge game mode and roll EVD out there against his boys.
Him and Molina?
No.
No.
Nah, man.
But to be honest with you, as strange as this sounds, I would put a possession week starting 11. Force them to have the ball and see what they do with it. Since they're a counter-attacking team, force the ball into their hands and say, "Here, you have possession. What can you do?" And I mean, I feel like that is the best way to go up against a counter-attacking team. Because if you go up against a counter-attacking team and say, "All right, we're going to need possession of the ball," you're playing right into their hands.
So how is that different than what Darren rolls out every week?
Fair enough. But here's the difference, though. When you force them to have the possession, you give yourself the opportunity of being then the counter-attacking team. But here's the two caveats to that. First, a lineup like today doesn't work because we would need power up front. We would need someone opposite side of Bolaños to give us those counter-attacking options. Second, do kickers really play counter-attacking soccer at home? I don't think that's been our MO at home. And I don't know if Darren is going to change what's been working at home.
I mean, I think they absolutely do that at home too. They're more aggressive with it, but think about where most of the goals come from. They come from, they don't come from build up most of the time. They come from, quick hitters down, the wing, finding a cross for Emmy to tap in, or some kind of, moment of magic of Bolaños dribbling somebody, or in the case of Omaha, when we played him last time, Gordon dribbling somebody and just smoking him on pace.
Yeah, and the thing about Union Omaha is, now granted, they've only scored 12 goals on the road, but they've only given up 9. And Union Omaha does a great job of smothering chances. Now, for some reason, Richmond always seems to nick a goal from them on a set piece. And maybe that's how Darren plays this, but I think what Darren, I would like to see him avoid is going with the double pivot of Dakota and Zaka and Candela. I would like more of Neil, Ethan, Dakota, or Zaka. I would like to see that more. Maybe this is a game where EVD flourishes because he's more of that tucked in forward and you can overload the numbers there, give it in the midfield. And you have Bolaños out there stretching the wing, Terzaghi kind of floating in between. That probably works a little bit more. I think the other key matchup is that left back spot with Stu Ritchie. I think that's another interesting matchup because we've seen really, really good games from Stu, and then we've seen okay games from Stu, and then we have the occasional bad game from Stu.
Yeah.
I think that's the other key component. I think that's the more linear way how to look at this. Because I mean, granted, if Darren rolls out a lineup of Stu, Jalen, Ani, Payne, Dakota, Zaka, Neil, Bolaños, Terzaghi, Bentley. How do you? The first 15 minutes of the game, you know how that game is going to play out. Am I right?
Yeah.
Maybe.
You know how this is going to play out.
I don't think it's going to be any different. Whatever combination you put in the midfield, it's what is it? It's what is.
I mean, I think we see more of a difference depending on who you put in the midfield on the defensive side of things. Because yes, when you got Dakota and Zaka as your basically kind of like almost like your low block with the back two, you're looking at a situation where you're giving your center backs a lot of protection. You're inviting the possession. You're inviting the pressure, and you're banking on those four plus the wing the fullbacks to provide you with that stalwart protection. But then, if you were to put, for example, Zaka and Ethan, then you're looking at a situation where you're looking at a more balanced midfield, especially with Neil as a 10. You're looking at a more balanced midfield where you're trying to keep possession of the ball. You're using those players, especially Neil and Bryant, to be distributors, and Zaka to be more of a destroyer in the midfield. Then you're seeing a completely different side. Do we want that side against Union? I don't think so, because again, that's playing right into their hands of us holding possession. And the longer you hold possession, the further up your defensive line pushes. The further up your defensive line pushes, the more susceptible you are to counterattacks. So, and which is basically Union Omaha's MO. So it's yeah. So I would go for a lower block, but I would still want to make sure that we have the option to create, and we would need definitely Neil needs to play, because we're going to get to points where we're going to have to try and break down their counterattacking defense. Because if they're playing counterattacking, they're going to sit back and they're going to be like, come at us. And we're going to have to figure out our way around that. Neil is going to be key with that.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. Real quick, before we wrap up the show, you guys give me three key points of the game. Like, what are three key things in order for Richmond to secure a victory on Saturday? Anyone want to go first? Or I'll go first to give y'all time.
I'll go first. Two options on the wing. That's one. I mean, like both wings. Neil to provide creation in the midfield to break down the defense, and through Richie to have a good game.
What you got, Matt?
I think first and foremost, limit the mistakes in the back. Whether that's giveaways or fouls in dangerous positions. I think being able to, like you guys were talking about, keep a organized shape, as well, make it tough, for Omaha, and then use the size of City Stadium. Don't be afraid to try to stretch them out. Their home field is a much smaller one in comparison. So, and we know that the guys like to be able to try to play wide and really play vertical. Test them on that. Really push the envelope in that regard. So I'd say that's a few areas to look at.
Yeah, I think that's good. I think the only thing I personally will add to it is win the first 15 minutes. Like, dominate. I think a strong start will be good to see. A strong first 15 minutes. And then obviously win majority of the battles in the midfield battle. Like, win those key battles. That's how you kind of keep Omaha from getting into next gear. So. All right, y'all. I think that's pretty much it. Oh, I forgot to mention this news. News just dropped. October 1st, our game against Tormenta will be at their new stadium. But like Matt alluded to, before we record it, it's only going to be limited capacity because is it not finished or what?
I'm guessing it's probably not really done. They just need to be there. I'm guessing that maybe the Georgia Southern field that they usually use is already booked up because they thought they'd be not playing there anyway this year.
Yeah.
So maybe college soccer kicked them out, but yeah. So
Yeah, sure. Probably so. Probably so. And at least they're doing a little bit better than NoCo, who, despite having 3 red cards, still play at a high school field.
Yeah.
true.
And
True.
it looks like there's a possibility that NoCo could end up dropping, if not to last, but at least second to last, because they've got.
They're not dropping to last.
Yeah,
They're not. Yeah, no. Tucson's got that in the bag. NoCo have either 3 or 2 games. Like everyone around them has either 2 or 3 games in hand on NoCo, and they're just hanging on to ninth. With North Carolina, I think North Carolina behind them in 10th, 5 points behind, but 3 games in hand. So they're not looking good.
Beforehand, if North Carolina loses this weekend, I'm counting North Carolina out, and if NoCo loses their next 2, I'm counting them out. So
yeah, I think more so if NoCo loses. If NoCo loses this weekend, they are done because they have fewer games left than they have fewer games left than everybody else.
Yeah, but they're only like 3 points out of the playoff spot right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think it's a bit much to say if they lose this weekend. I mean, I don't want them to lose this weekend because they're playing Greenville. I would love for them to get anything out of that game.
Oh yeah,
it's an all-time chaos game. I need 5 red cards.
Right? Yeah.
I'll take 4 and 0-0.
8 against 7. Just
yeah. Give me a futsal match by the 60th minute.
Yeah.
That's what I need.
Oh boy.
Yeah. Anything else, guys, before we wrap up?
Kickers, signed an academy player from Brazil. I don't really understand how that necessarily works as an academy player, but whatever. So
my only guess is because he's 18. That's my only guess.
Maybe who cares?
What, like
I'd be stunned if Ottavio Zerbini plays at all this year, especially given that he's a defender and our defensive core, seems pretty entrenched. Also, I don't know if I would want to throw an 18-year-old into the fire in the stretch run at all. But good for him. Good to have him around. Maybe he's a guy who can step up in the future.
Yeah, it's a good sign to see. Good to see the club kind of prioritizing youth, getting some guys in there. They got some experience. Maybe next year. Hopefully, we stop the trend of our best center back leaving us at the end of the season, like it's happened every year.
Yeah.
So hopefully we can stop the trend. Getting some defensive stability in there is very good to see. Missionaire, thank y'all. It's been a pleasure doing the show with y'all today.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right. Do we need to do our top 3, Matt? Before I
yeah, we can do that. Y'all want me to go first while you think?
I know I can give you mine right off the top of my head. Bentley gets 3, Kazagi gets 2, and 1 I'll give it to O'Gordon because he made a nice assist. My Irish Jamaican friend.
Alrighty. Are you ready?
You go ahead.
All right. I also had Bentley on the 3 because goal, but also he was very involved in the penalty as well. Even though it was Emmy that got knocked over, Bentley was right there for the first attempt that bounced out to Emmy. And he was just really active the entire time that he was in there the last half hour or so. So I thought he definitely deserved a 3. I went with Gordon for the 2. Created a good spark when he was in there. It wasn't just the cross. He was quite active down the wing. And I went with Stephen Payne for 1. I thought he performed pretty well on the right wing. Gave a little, quite a few crosses that either led to corners, led to some danger in there. definitely redeemed himself out in Fresno this time around. So he got the one.
All right.
That I'm gonna go very similar to you guys, but a little bit different. Bentley gets my 3 points. Because saves us a point. Um, the 2 points I will give to Gordon because of the distribution, and also not only that, he when he came on, he was a spark, bringing a lot more into the game. And my 1 point I would actually give to Bolaños because he kind of was the only bit of light in the first half. Um, he actually was out of all of the players the only one who looked close to creating something in the first half. So I'll definitely give him that 1 point for that.
All righty.
There we go. And there you have it, listeners. As always, we want to say thank y'all for taking the time out of y'all day for listening to our show. Couldn't do it without y'all. Make sure to check out the website. It is now known as rivercity93.com.
Big
As
time.
the guy,
Oh yeah, what big time?
.com.
Dakar.
As the guy
I miss that guy.
he used
I
to
miss
do
that
it.
guy. I miss that guy.
Those are the days. But hopefully we create new days. By that, we will see you guys next week. Holla.